goes through and produces the clip, and you can drop in stock photos, AI generated imagery straight in that tool into the clips or into your whole overall podcast. So the production is getting easier, and I think the production values are getting better, but the direction of podcasts is towards video. YouTube is the number one channel for people listening to podcasts today here in 2024. So that might surprise some. They might think it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It's YouTube. 33% of people prefer a video podcast, and they'll maybe just have it running in the background so you can just listen to the audio. Or if it's more visual and they're slapping up graphs, you can actually join on and watch it. It does increase the production values or expectation there. But video is where this medium is going. And what's great about that is it improves discovery for your podcast, because what else is YouTube? It's the number 2 search engine. So people can find topics and discover your podcast, whereas the audio one, you have to find them on social, or a friend has to say, hey, I heard of this great podcast, or, you gradually invite the guests and they use that when they promote it, their audiences, and it sort of gradually grows like that. YouTube can accelerate that through greater discovery. And that sort of probably legislates towards the evergreen type of podcast that we were talking about earlier, because then your sort of back catalog has a bit more life compared to, hey, let's talk about the tech analysis from 3 months ago.
And I think that big focus on YouTube, I don't want that to scare our startup marketing friends who maybe haven't started yet. And I think Ian made a good point about start at your own level. Nobody expects you to come out with fancy graphics and perfect production and perfect lighting and all of these things right out of the box. And if you're trying to hold yourself to that standard, you'll never start. We've gotten a lot better at this than when we started. I'm sure if you go back and listen to some of our old episodes, I'm sure we're talking over each other and sounding a bit ridiculous in moments, but you can't let perfect be the enemy of good in this situation. Like, yes, you're going to be on YouTube. Yes, there's going to be people staring at you, but just go and do it and talk about the things that you're comfortable talking about, and gradually increase that production value. Don't put all that pressure on yourself right out of the box.
So, Nicole, on this, let's talk about podcasting's role in the sales funnel. We talked about where it fits in our sort of content strategy. Brands want it for thought leadership, but where does it sort of fit in the funnel?
Yeah, it kind of fits all throughout. It's good for brand awareness. It's good for lead nurturing. If somebody's an active opportunity, they're going to probably go check out your podcast and see what else you have to say. And like we talked about with the data, there's so many ways to measure that impact on your sales funnel. You're going to get listener analytics. You're going to get lead gen metrics. You're going to get things like that. And I think the real focus in the sales funnel is on thought leadership. We did some digging. We saw that businesses who are doing B2B podcasts, they're saying about 40% of them say that thought leadership is their primary goal, which is great. The more information you can share, the better. And that could be a really good way to accelerate your sales funnel. Because, we're always asking sales folks, what are the questions that you're getting? What objections do you need to combat? And if you can address some of those things on your podcast, that's a lot of prospect education that your sales team doesn't need to do. So it really can actually shorten the sales cycle if